All right, here's some important things to know about the water molecule for the AP exam. First of all, you already know that water is composed of two hydrogens and that those two hydrogens are covalently bonded to a central oxygen atom. Oxygen is highly electronegative. That means it has a very strong pull on the electrons that it shares with the hydrogens, and it pulls those electrons a little closer to it and a little further away from the hydrogens. That causes the oxygen end to become slightly negative and the hydrogen side of the molecule to become slightly positive. This means that oxygen, or that water rather, is a polar molecule. It has one end that's distinctly negative and one end that's distinctly positive. The water molecule is said to have a bent shape. There's some unshared pairs of electrons that sort of push the hydrogens down this way, and the molecule has this distinctive bend in it. That too is important for the polarity of the molecule because it makes it have one distinct side, the oxygen side, that's negative, and one distinct side, the hydrogen side, that's positive. Because water molecules are polar, they form hydrogen bonds with each other. So the negative side of the molecule, the oxygen side, is attracted to the hydrogen side of nearby water molecules. And we see those hydrogen bonds shown here with dots. So all these are hydrogen bonds. Compared to a covalent bond, each hydrogen bond is very weak. But in a body of water, there are lots and lots of hydrogen bonds. So together they become pretty strong. And these hydrogen bonds have a great impact on the biologically important properties of water. Here's some important biological properties of water. First of all, water has a high specific heat. That means that it takes a lot of heat added to or taken away from water to change its temperature very much. This makes water very good at helping to maintain temperature, whether we're talking about the internal temperature or the temperature of a body of water and the land near that body of water. Water has this high specific heat because of the hydrogen bonds between water molecules. Before the temperature can change much, those hydrogen bonds have to be broken, and it takes a lot of heat to break those hydrogen bonds. Water is also an excellent solvent. Sometimes it's called the universal solvent. This means water is very good at dissolving things, like solutes. This too is mostly due to water's polarity. Water, being a polar solvent, is very good at dissolving things that are either ionic or polar, things like salts and other polar molecules. This means that water is very good at dissolving and thereby transporting substances. Whether we're talking about nutrients or gases, the blood is mostly water. So water is very good at transporting things in the blood. Also groundwater, another good way to transport materials. Water has a high heat of vaporization. This means it takes a lot of heat to turn it from a liquid to a gas. Again, this is due to the hydrogen bonds. Before the change of state can happen, those hydrogen bonds have to be broken. It takes a lot of heat to do that. This is why sweat and transpiration work well. As sweat or water moving during transpiration evaporate, they move a lot of heat away from the organism. They take that heat with them and they cool off the organism through evaporative cooling. Water is also cohesive, meaning that water molecules stick to each other, and it's adhesive, meaning that water molecules stick to other polar substances. Again, this is completely due to the hydrogen bonding and the polarity of the molecule. This allows processes like transpiration, the movement of water through the xylem of plants, to occur. Water also expands as it freezes. Most compounds contract as they get colder and colder. And that happens with water too, up until it cools off to about 4 degrees Celsius. And at that point in time, as it cools off more, the water begins to become less dense and expand. This makes ice less dense than water. This means that ice floats. And that's biologically important because as it floats, as the ice floats, it actually insulates the water underneath it and helps to keep it warmer and help to prevent it from freezing. And this helps to keep the aquatic life living in that body of water alive. So those are just a few of the biologically important properties of water And almost all of them have something to do with either the fact that water is polar or that it forms hydrogen bonds.